Picture this. 190 Starbucks locations all across New York City, generating nearly $500 million in annual sales, employing 4,500 workers, and pumping nearly $50 million in sales tax alone into the city's coffers. Now, imagine their incoming socialist mayor telling New Yorkers to boycott every single one of those stores. He needs their tax dollars to pay for all the free goodies he promised to New Yorkers, but then he tells the city to boycott the very corporations his tax plan relies on for funding. Sound insane? Well, it is. And you won't believe what Starbucks did in response. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness as the far left desperately tries to stop the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age that you're making happen all over the world. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we jump in here, I want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of this channel, and that's the insider trading expert, Ross Givens. It's so preposterously hypocritical for Mamdani to be going after Starbucks when his fellow Democrats like Nancy Pelosi are the real ones who are exploiting corporate loopholes. Just imagine what you could do if you had the same insider trading information that Pelosi has, knowing exactly what stocks to buy, when to buy them. But guess what? You don't have to imagine anymore. And that's what Ross is here for. Thanks to a little-known SEC database, we can see what and when corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves. Gang, that is why you have got to click on that link below and sign up for a free training with me and Ross. It's this Thursday, November 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's all online. Ross is an insider trading expert whose recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. It's going to be an amazing free online training where you and I can learn how to trade with the exact same insider knowledge as these politicians, but we're going to do it legally and ethically. But don't wait. Seating registration is limited, so click on that link below right now. Register today, and I'll see you for an event that promises to change your life. Ross is absolutely amazing. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. On November the 13th, New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democratic socialist set to take power January 1st, publicly called for a citywide Starbucks boycott as union workers launched what they were calling their Red Cup Rebellion strike. Mamdani tweeted out, quote, "While workers are on strike, I will not be buying any Starbucks, and I'm asking you to join us. Together, we can send a powerful message. No contract, no coffee." So, no contract, no coffee. So what's going on here is that the Starbucks Workers United, which is a union that's comprised of only about 4% of Starbucks stores, they launched the Red Cup Rebellion, which is a nationwide coordinated strike targeting approximately 65 unionized Starbucks locations across the United States on the company's busiest day of the year. At the heart of the strike are stalled contract negotiations. That's why no contract, no coffee. Workers are demanding the basics, higher wages, better benefits, better scheduling, improved health care, stronger job protections, and the like. And they're calling it the Red Cup Rebellion because Red Cup Day marks the official start of Starbucks holiday season and traditionally generates enormous sales spikes, usually the highest of the year. And so this is the day that these union members targeted deliberately to inflict the most amount of pain for Starbucks and its stockholders. And Mamdani joined in that effort. He joined in wanting to maximize the economic loss for this corporation. Now, what makes that particularly strange for Mamdani is he is relying inordinately on corporate taxes to fund all of his socialist giveaways, right? Free childcare for all children under the age of 6, the elimination of all fares on New York City buses, city-owned grocery stores, and the like. So think about it. The man about to run America's largest city, who's, by the way, never run a business. He's never even, to my knowledge, even ever had a real job. But this guy just urged his constituents to economically strangle a company that he needs to rely on to directly fund the very programs he campaigned on. But here's the math that nobody seems to be talking about. If Starbucks were to pull out of New York City, which they're already doing nationwide, the city would lose $70 to $80 million annually in direct revenue. They would lose sales tax, payroll tax, property taxes, occupancy fees, all gone literally overnight. And that's before the ripple effect hits. So when those 190 stores close, well, foot traffic dies. And when foot traffic dies, nearby businesses lose money. And when nearby businesses lose money, property values decline. Economic experts estimate the total damage would be upwards of $250 million. Now, you may know this, but Starbucks, the corporation, they ain't having their best moment right now. They've already closed over 600 stores nationwide. And in New York alone, more than 50 Starbucks locations are now gone. The company laid off 900 corporate employees on top of 1,100 earlier cuts, and they're taking a $1 billion restructuring effort. And I don't think Mamdani quite realizes the tripwire he's stepping on here. Remember, the mayor of New York is powerless to raise taxes. New York City, right? He's powerless. He cannot raise taxes. Mamdani knows he has to raise taxes significantly to pay for all the free stuff he's promised. But the New York State Constitution requires all tax hikes have to go through the state legislature in Albany. And Governor Hochul has already said that she's very much against raising taxes any further on New Yorkers, especially those who could pick up and leave the state, as they've been doing now to the tune of hundreds of thousands ever since 2020. And then to his south, we have President Trump threatening to cut off funds permanently from New York. He's already frozen almost $20 billion in New York City infrastructure projects like the Gateway Rail Tunnel project under the Hudson River and the 2nd Avenue subway expansion. So Mamdani is really stuck between a rock and a hard place. And now he's only further alienating himself from really the financial heartbeat of the city, and that's corporations like Starbucks, who he needs to help finance his socialist vision. And to make matters even worse, at the very same time, the NYPD, the New York Police Department, they're shrinking at an alarming rate. You probably read about this. But they are literally hemorrhaging officers just ahead of Mamdani's inauguration. So back in October, nearly 250 officers quit. That was a 35% increase of quittings from the previous year. Since January of 2024, the New York City Police Department has lost over 5,000 rank-and-file officers, an average of over 300 per month. And the bottom line is that morale is at an all-time low. Everyone's concerned about the policies Mamdani wants to put in place. I mean, bottom line, they just don't want to work for a guy who consistently vilifies law enforcement as the villain and criminals as the victims. But ironically, in all of this, it appears that Starbucks is getting the last laugh here. Not only did Starbucks report that 99% of its stores remain open during the strike, but they're reporting that they had their best red cup day ever. That it exceeded all sales expectations. I mean, seriously. I think Mamdani is like the greatest marketing gift ever. They're actually calling it the Mamdani effect, right? One Miami developer, real estate developer, reported over $100 million in signed contracts from nervous New Yorkers in just the past 3 months, doubling what they got in their entirety of last year. And Starbucks is basically making the same power move here. Starbucks essentially told Mamdani and the unions, you know, your boycott didn't work. We had our best day ever. But there's also a very subtle underlying message there in what Starbucks just said. We're an international corporation. We don't need New York City. New York City needs us. If the political and labor environment becomes too hostile, we'll simply reallocate capital to friendlier markets. It's that simple. With over 40,000 stores globally, Starbucks does not need New York. But New York, and most especially Mamdani, desperately needs Starbucks, tax revenue, jobs, and economic activity. So there you have it. It seems like we have yet another notch in this, another loss. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Seems like we've got, we've notched yet another loss for this socialist sham. There we go. I said it. Mamdani could double down and watch the city bleed, or he could admit that the hand he's biting feeds his entire socialist dream. My bet, he doubles down. And New Yorkers are going to end up paying the price, one closed storefront at a time. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to hear anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless. Hey, before you go, gang, do not miss out. Every Friday, my weekly wrap-up gives you everything you missed during the week. Live streams, top videos, podcasts, events, and the week's biggest Patriot wins. Sign up free at turley.pub/recap and start ending your week with faith, family, and freedom.